Yeah. Oh my God, dude, I'm so excited. I want that to be an app focus eventually because, just off of what you said, I haven't even dived, whatever, into it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm there.
So
I'm using it now.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Real good. So
it reminds me of Hamachi back in the day.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's pretty much what it is. You just have your little, like, weirdly connected local area network, and everything just communicates.
Yep.
And it's all encrypted with WireGuard. So I don't even have to drop the WireGuard part of all this.
I know. Just builds on it.
If I had $1 million, that would fix a lot of issues. It sure would. It sure would. I like Dovin though. Dovin is my I don't know. Dovin sounds good because it's like the most wrong of all the ones that's on the list.
I think they're all wrong.
So I mean, yeah. if I don't know what it is, man, being the most wrong is the best choice. Coming up in this episode, opening up an arcade, a community of Linux distros, the Grand Tour, Flatpak or Snap? How about no? And we blend in with our desktop environment. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 12. 1 and 2. I don't have enough fingers for that, but enough. 12 of Linux User Space. I'm Leo.
And I'm Dan. Yeah. So I heard you went a little crazy shopping?
There's a bit of a reason for that. Internet has been spotty when it gets cold, so I had to figure out something to do.
Offline mode, yeah.
Offline mode. And so I bought an arcade cabinet.
No, my word. That's awesome.
with all of the games already in it.
I've seen those like at Walmart, and they are cool looking.
Oh, this one's cool. 27-inch screen. It's got the light up title bar thing up at the top.
That sounds cool.
It's got all mechanical switches, rated for 1 million taps. The joysticks feel like classic arcade joysticks. You've got the scroll ball thing in the middle for Centipede, Millipede, and some other games. You've also got the little twisty turny knob.
Oh yeah.
For games like Pong. And I can't stop. We have the internet now. The internet's back. It's not fixed, but the internet's been surprisingly good today. But I haven't wasted time on the internet. I've wasted time on the arcade machine. Every break I've gotten, it's like, eat real fast, play some arcade stuff.
Yeah, well, it does remind me of my misspent youth, so I can understand why you want to, you kind of gravitate towards that, yeah.
You have to, and no longer do I have to set a quarter on the screen to save my place in line. I don't have to do that anymore because I just have one now, and I can stand in front of it for as long as I want to. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is I have to share with somebody else. Hop on 2-player. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's fun to watch and participate that way too. With a group of people, and egg people on, and have the competition going. And yeah, I mean that's the best part.
I have to admit, after we put it together, I spent 2 hours playing Tetris.
Oh, yeah.
2. And it was the first game I opened up. I was just like, ooh, what's in here? What's in here? What's in here? Wow, there's 300. There's way too many. Look at the categories. Found Tetris and was like, all right, cool. We'll play Tetris for 5 minutes real quick. I'll lose a game really quickly.
No.
You don't play Tetris for 5 minutes. That's not how that works.
No.
And
you're like, just one more. Yeah.
I know, and I was like, oh God, it's been an hour. Okay, we're gonna after this game, and then another hour rolls by, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta go to bed.
Nice. So I do wonder, like, you think the underpinnings of this thing are like, Linux based?
I have to believe, because of the way that it looks and performs.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of emulators out there, and they run on Linux and run very well, and you don't even know what's underneath. So, yeah, I feel like it's plausible.
I would not be surprised if you dug into the source code of this thing and it turns out it's just all the open source emulators shoved into a box with a front end that they coded themselves. I've never seen that front end before, so I know that's unique.
That's unique.
But all of the emulators and BIOSes and things like that underneath, those are quite likely not homebrewed. I think those are probably taken from the community. So
nice.
That I think is really cool. But that's not what got me to buy this thing. It was not cheap.
No.
The thing that got me to buy it was they have this BYOG, bring your own game thing. So you can buy from them, which I think I'm going to do just to support them because I don't want that company to go away. I want them to keep doing what they're doing.
Right.
And making more of these cool little dongles that you can add. There's a USB port in it, and you can buy a $25 edition that has 2 games that I wish were on the cabinet but aren't. Galaga and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man.
Okay.
So same. Same. But that is $25. I don't mind paying that. But besides all that, you can roll your own flash drive.
Okay.
They give you the operating system bits that you put on one partition, and the bigger your flash drive, the better you're going to get. Here, the other partition, which is the leftovers,
right?
That's where all the ROMs go.
Oh.
Obviously, you only put games that you physically own in that directory, obviously, because that's how ROMs work, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously. But you can play whatever you want to on it, and that right there is that's fantastic enough.
Yeah, it is. That's really cool.
But that's not where they stopped. They didn't stop there. They threw an HDMI port on it, and this USB port is not any old USB port. It's an OTG port. So you can plug in. You ready for this?
Yeah.
A whole Raspberry Pi with RetroPie on it.
Yeah.
So you can bypass the system software, but use the entire arcade cabinet. And just play a RetroPie on it.
Well, that really does open up the world.
There is nothing that you can't do with this machine.
Yeah.
But what the funniest thing to me is I haven't even gotten there. I haven't even really given that much thought. I love that you can do that. I've seen how to set that up. It seems very simple. I mean, it is less difficult to add RetroPie or create one of these custom rolled USB disks than it is to install a Linux operating system. So
that's pretty easy.
I know there's not going to be much friction there.
Nice.
So I'm excited to do that, but I'm not even there yet. I'm just picking random games and like slapping 10 coins in it and just playing and playing and playing and playing. So you're probably going to hear more.
Sure. Well, I guess to take it a step further, right? Like it's got an HDMI port. You could plug any console into that, anything you have, and then and like, sure, you might not be able to use all of the functions, maybe because like maybe they don't register correctly on your console or whatever. But like, I don't know, just having a complete gaming system for all of your gaming, that sounds pretty cool.
That's what this is, man. Anything that has HDMI out and uses USB to connect controllers with, it'll work. It'll absolutely work. But it doesn't stop there. They added Bluetooth to it too. So if you just like,
so you can use wireless controllers.
Yes.
Oh my word, that's awesome.
Just so I'm really excited about this thing. I've had it for a whole day.
Yeah, you've already got big plans.
Yeah. As we're recording this, I don't think I've even had 24 hours with the thing, and I've already put hours into it. So it's quickly becoming worth its weight because it was heavy. The thing was heavy.
Yeah. Nice.
But and it looks good too, right? Like it's got
it's like,
Aladdin on the side.
Yeah.
It's got Burger Time. I mean, classic.
Oh, nice.
Burger Time.
That's cool.
And my daughter was all about it because it had Wreck-It Ralph on it too.
Yeah.
So it's got Fix It Felix. And I mean, anyway, so laundry list of games. It's fantastic. I love it so far. I will come back with more reports.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more.
How I can shove Linux on the thing, and when I do that, that's when I'll come back and we'll update this a little bit. So as soon as we're done with this recording, there's a good chance I'm just going to go in there and play some more Tetris or something.
Yeah. So if the episode's late, folks, you know why. Hey, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to send us a buck over at patreon.com/LinuxUserSpace. And if because we love you guys and we want to give you the best, we're actually, patrons, like top tier patrons. We're going to look at trying to get you some video of the recording.
Yep, because what I'm thinking is that not everybody can make it to the live recording, but those that buy into that in the first place, you can get the recording, but not live.
Right.
And Patreon didn't allow us a way to do video, but I think they just they bought a 12 terabyte hard drive or something.
Yeah, I know.
And now we can upload video now. So
they got another
cool
internet pipe in or something too, so it must be.
I guess they
cool.
bought another. Yeah, they bought a modem.
They got a 56K modem. Yeah, so good for them.
If it buffers, it's the 56K modem. That's what it is.
You get to benefit from that, and if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, you can do that too. And then you can see us in higher quality with some edits. That's youtube.com/LinuxUserSpace.
When people share knowledge, everyone benefits. That was the quote hoisted atop the Linux distro community website. The site was a hub for Linux lovers of all kinds. It didn't matter which distro you used, and this was plain to see. Logos of Gentoo, Linux Mint, Mageia, Fedora, and others could be found here and there. There was even a Mumble server that had a dedicated Bodhi Linux room, a forum with a section for Arch, and IRC where the primordial discussion on all things Linux took place. Just about every type of communication that Linux advocates tend to use, all administered by Vultum, along with others from the community like Preacher, Zeus, and others. Vultum is known by another name these days, mostly just Jerry. Bezencon, to be exact, of Auckland, New Zealand, if you're more geographically inclined. Jerry decided it was time he gave back to the community he helped start. So back at the Linux distro community, there was an idea for, you guessed it, a new Linux distro. The distro had a solid purpose that it lives up to today, but you don't stay true to a goal without having one. Or 3. Jerry started with 3 guiding reasons for creating a distro. To dispel myths about how scary Linux operating systems are, to help create awareness about Linux-based operating systems, and to help promote this community, with this community being the Linux distro community, of course. And the distro itself, well, it was called Linux Lite. It even got its own special corner in the forum where its birth was chronicled, its ISOs beta tested, and initial announcements in all the various Linux distro community spots. But it wasn't released yet. It had another mission, because on the 26th of October 2012, Windows 8 was released and generally available, bringing with it the most beloved of all launchers, the full screen start menu, now dubbed the start screen, because, it took up the whole screen. It had a tablet-ready touch-based interface, and the cheapest upgrade cost to date from a previous Windows version was at $40. It was the first Windows to have native cloud integration well before everybody was excited about work from home or hybrid schedules. And it launched alongside Windows RT, the ARM-based Windows offering, and we know how well that went since Microsoft is absolutely rocking it with ARM chips.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Either way, this isn't about Windows, it's about context. So we'll skip that nightmare. Suffice it to say, if you were tinkering back in 2012, then you likely heard just how much everybody hated Windows 8. The start menu to start screen paradigm shift came on too strong and served to confuse the masses instead of simplify. But simplification was the entire point of Linux Lite. Jerry wasn't satisfied with Windows, but he also wasn't satisfied with the state of Linux distros and knew they could do better. Much better. So instead of complaining endlessly into the void, he brought that idea to life. So on the same day as Windows 8, Linux Lite 1.0.0, based on Ubuntu 12.04, launched in defiance of Microsoft and Windows 8. So 1.1.0 was codenamed Amethys, like the precious gem. And the plan from here on out was to give each subsequent major release a similar gem-type name with the first letter increased by 1 alphabetically. At the time, Linux Lite was 32-bit only and came with XFCE 4.8, LibreOffice, VLC, Firefox, Mumble, Thunderbird, GIMP, and LeafPad, among others. It was also noted that XFCE is the only officially supported desktop, even though others can fairly easily be installed. 1.0.2 came 30 days later on November 25th with a huge focus on community feedback, reduced ISO size, and the addition of the iconic keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Alt-T to launch a new terminal. It wasn't really an upgrade process outside of simply reinstalling the OS, so for the latest and greatest, there'd be a little pain. 1.0.4 in 2013, a pre-release community feedback version was issued a couple months later on January 15th as a result of more community feedback and with a focus on games. It was more of a release candidate to gauge the changes made. 1.0.4 itself released on the 1st of February. The changes made in the feedback version stayed, and in addition, the help and support manual could now upgrade itself, but added some time to the upgrade process. In June, 1.0.6 dropped and was more of an under-the-hood release. Apple device support, easy Windows sharing, and a built-in troubleshooter named Lite Fix. This release also marked the opening of the Linux Lite Shop, where you could snag USB install media and stickers, and 64-bit support for those that wanted it. In 2014, a little over 6 months later, in January, 1.0.8 is released as the final release of the 1.x series and also marks the addition of Lite Software Center, dubbed simply Lite Software, quickly after, and the Lite User Manager. On February 26th, new repositories that will contain Linux Lite-specific software in anticipation for the 2.0 release is launched. June 2nd, after beta testing since mid-May and based on Ubuntu 14.04, Linux Lite 2.0 Barrel is released. The third 0, which noted bug fixes, was dropped for the simpler major.minor version numbering. Despite the Ubuntu LTS base, software like Wine, GIMP, and LibreOffice will start getting out-of-band updates to keep up with new features, and also offering easy installation of various softwares like Google Chrome, Steam, and Skype. August 5th, Lite Welcome is announced and will be based off the Manjaro welcome screen. On September 15th, Lite Cleaner is released and has some pretty basic features like auto-removing packages, emptying the trash, and generally keeping the system, well, clean. December 1st, Linux Lite 2.2 is ready for download. It, of course, brings Lite Welcome and Lite Cleaner, but also a backup program named Backups, and also File Search. On January 1st, 2015, Lite Fonts is released as a quick way to bring in all of the Microsoft fonts one might be missing. Mid-February, Lite Cleaner is renamed to Lite Tweaks and adds a few more bells and whistles, like cleaning up Firefox and Chrome, the recently used apps in the whisker menu, and resetting the default browser. March 31st, 2.4 is released, now with a new and improved ability to upgrade between minor versions thanks to the new Lite Upgrade utility. And it's decided that there will be 5 minor releases total within each major release. Support for disk encryption, LVM, and exFAT make their debut as well, and the superkey now opens the whisker menu by default. September 1st, 2.6 is released with brand new Linux Lite Control Center. It's meant to function as a one-stop shop for all your system control needs as, especially at this time, configuration utilities tend to be spread out. With categories on the left and configurable bits on the right, just about everything you need is within. And for when you make the wrong configuration, System Back, a system restore tool, which can also be found in the Control Center, makes the release. Oh, and there's a dark theme. 2016, January 31st, 2.8 is released, and the biggest change here is the inclusion of a newer kernel. But without a fresh install, you won't get it. Stability over risk. But you can easily upgrade after everything is settled. ButterFS support also makes an appearance. The release was dedicated to the late Ian Murdoch, founder and creator of Debian. On May 31st, 3.0, named Citrine, is released. And it's big. A new login manager, new system theme, Arc. Lite software gets images for easier app identification, and Lite Info, which uploads hardware information to help people looking at Linux Lite decide if it's right for their hardware too. This project is still maintained today at their hardware page. And since this release is based on Ubuntu 16.04, that means, under the hood, Systemd is now the default init system. The Lite team even provides a Systemd manager akin to Windows Services app. And the push for games ends with the removal of the games menu, as it's not as popular as the other bits of the system. October 31st, 3.2 is released with better multi-boot support and a desktop widget named Lite Desktop Widget. Go figure. It gives version, date, system information, and update status with visual cues as to when you should update in red, yellow, and green. Red being the most critical. And some other visual tweaks to the entire desktop for better visibility. 2017, March 31st, 3.4 is released with the addition of a configurable Lite Updates Notify to remind folks to update without being too intrusive. Security is a virtue, after all. Lite Welcome gets a visual update, and Lite Tweaks gains the ability to tweak the logout dialog, adding or removing buttons to your liking. Oh, and window snapping. August 31st, 3.6 is released with a new logo. The now iconic yellow feather is the simplified new standard. It also brings Lite Sources, which allows you to configure which Linux Lite mirror to use based on speed and availability. There's also a new search engine for the help manual, making finding bits much easier. 2018, January 31st, 3.8 is released as the last of the 3.x series and comes with a workaround for playing region-locked DVDs, a font viewer, and visual tweaks for Thunderbird. May 31st, 4.0 Diamond is released based on Ubuntu 18.04, with more visual updates, swapping to Papyrus for the icon theme, one of my favorites.
Mine too.
Timeshift is there for backups, Shotwell for images, and Lite Desktop and Lite Sounds to configure each. And the 32-bit ISOs? They're no more. On to the future with you. This also seems to be the point where Linux Lite has really hit its stride, making fewer breaking changes per release and switching to refinement and maintenance. October 31st, 4.2 is released as a refinement release. Some more wallpapers and the addition of Redshift, a color temperature adjustment software to be easier on the eyes in a dimly lit room. 2019, March 31st, 4.4 is released without any betas. They've just been renamed to release candidates, but serve the same purpose. Another mostly refinement release, but they make the jump from SourceForge to OSDN, that is, the Open Source Development Network. You have to go where the funding is. August 31st, 4.6 is released with a new Lite dark theme selector in Lite Welcome and updates to the help manual. 2020, January 14th, 4.8 is released off of the normal schedule. No, it wasn't because development stalled, or rifts between community members, or outright mutiny. It's because Windows 7 support ended on this day. Much like the 1.0.0 release coinciding with the Windows 8 release date, this is another attempt to be a safety net for those folks that held on to Windows 7 despite the cheap upgrade and may still not want to upgrade to 8 or 10. Its original release date would have been February 1, but you can't miss an opportunity like this. Even the wallpaper had the familiar default Windows 7 wallpaper, slightly modified to be welcoming, of course. Besides the Windows-esque branding and tons of how-to type information on how to migrate from Windows to Linux Lite, the release itself was another refinement release, fixing bugs, speeding up software, and steadily holding the line. May 31st, 5.0, codenamed Emerald, is released with UEFI support by default based on Ubuntu 20.04. This has been in the works and requested multiple times since the 3.x series, and while they were very close in 4.8, the team wasn't ready to check the box that made UEFI default. But now it is. Secure Boot is still causing issues for Linux Lite, so that bit is still recommended to be disabled. Firewall D makes an appearance, replacing GUFW, as well as high DPI settings, and tons of additions to the Lite software menu. Of course, the help manual gets huge updates too. And general refinement to the other tools and systems as a whole. October 31st, 5.2 is released as another maintenance and refinement release, dropping old unsupported themes, Flash, and a few other bits and bobs while adding a taskbar restoration function to light tweaks for folks that manage to wiggle things a little too much. 2021, March 31. 5.4 is released with refinement, bug fixes, new wallpapers, and lots more help in the help manual. August 31st, 5.6 is released alongside a new pay-what-you-want download method to further fund development. But the team reminds everyone, Linux Lite will always be free. And as good netizens, we know what to do with this type of request. Fulfill it, of course. This release is another mostly refinement release. 2022, January 31. 5.8 is released as the last in the 5 series and brings with it NeoFetch by default, Mint Stick, a USB creation tool, and tons of bug fixes. May 31st, 6.0, codenamed Fluorite, is released based on Ubuntu 22.04. Besides all the under-the-hood Ubuntu goodness, the forward-facing Adapta theme is dropped in favor of Materia. And for those who need assistance, there's a slew of assistive technologies added, like a screen reader and an on-screen keyboard. But unlike its sibling Linux Mint, Linux Lite took the road less traveled and dropped Firefox, since it's snap-only from upstream Ubuntu, in favor of installing Google Chrome as the default. However, if Firefox is still your jam, there are instructions on how to add it back using a PPA. There's now a light patch application to apply emergency fixes, which results in less weird breakage. Lastly, a new Linux Lite fork of System Monitoring Center that replaces the XFCE Task Manager. This was a pretty big release. October 31st, 6.2 is released as the last release of this history. And wouldn't you know it, it's comprised of mostly UI and bug fixes. And of course, updates to software. And that's where we're left off today.
So you want to read the Linux news that matters as it unfolds? You can head on over to our subreddit or our news channel on Discord. linuxuserspace.show/reddit or linuxuserspace.show/discord for those. Also, if you want to chat with us a little more real time, you can head on over to our Telegram, Matrix, or Mastodon. We have Mastodon too.
Do that.
And, you know, those are always good places to spark some conversation so that we can, you know, use them in feedback shows and stuff. That's super fun.
The cool thing about all these links, don't forget, is that if all you remember is the website, linuxuserspace.show, don't forget, throw a slash on the end, and the service you want to find us at, it's there. Dan put a lot of work in making sure that'll get you where you want to go. Just don't misspell Matrix, and we'll be good.
Yeah, chances are good that, you know, you'll find the thing that you're looking for, you know. We'll take your OnlyFans, too.
Well, I want to talk about how Linux Lite went for you, but before we do that, there was a quote that I saw in an interview that Jerry Bezenkon did in about, I want to say it's about 2017, October-ish. And it was in response to a question, can you share some milestones that this project has achieved? And he talks about quite a few things, but I just wanted to focus on this one quote from him. And he said, "The biggest standout for me is that no matter how big we've become, we've kept a reputation as a welcoming, helpful network of passionate Linux Lite users. I'm extremely proud of that, and all credit goes to the people in our community for maintaining and building upon that reputation." The thing I love about this quote is it turns most ideas and preconceptions about a distro on its head. I know that most distros are like, yes, the community is strong and good, and that's where a lot, but nobody goes out of their way, like Jerry has, to put all of the blame for the goodness on the community itself.
Yeah. There's a couple special distros out there that really do kind of take it to another level. And, based on this quote, I think this does that as well.
And the funny thing about this is that he's done about 3 different interviews over the past decade or so. And the coolest thing is that has been a consistent refrain from him. That, I lead the thing and all this, but it's the community that really ties it all together. Because in the history we talked about, the whole thing started as a community. There was no distro. There was only community.
It was only a forum. Yeah.
Yep. Big bunch of nerds like me and Dan sitting around running whatever we wanted to. And even still on the forums, there are people running whatever they want to. Sure. Just happen to like the community, and they still buzz around and chat on the forums or in the various community, whatever, IRCs and everything else. I just really, it's refreshing to see that kind of, flipped style of credit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always happen
I said,
that
there's
way.
Only a couple, like Endeavor comes to my mind, right? Because there's a project that it's a continuation of another project, but it only existed because of the community, and the community wanted it. And it was really just, it wasn't even intended to be a distro necessarily out of the gate. It was intended to keep the community going forward, and it evolved into a distro, much like this, right? It's the same kind of feeling for me.
Yep. Actually, yes, that's a very good analog to, yes. Yeah. And I think, without the quote, I think we pretty much agreed that was exactly why Endeavor is so popular, because they have tools, they have special things.
They do. And much like Linux Lite, they have tools too. Yeah.
Right. But wow. Yes. I think the most successful distros, regardless of user count necessarily, is just the people that you meet along the way.
Right. It is. It's the community building. It's the relationships you build. That's what keeps you going. And I can tell you, as a developer, the people that have stopped and said, thank you, this is what I've done with this, it's great. That is what keeps you contributing, I feel like.
Yep.
And it's much like this podcast, right? People always say, hey, thanks for the great, episode. Thanks for promoting the great thing. And, we've touched on some great projects and people that are also contributing, in our podcast community too. So like all of those things, I think are what the focus needs to be. And obviously, that's what keeps Jerry going too.
So just real quick, there's one other thing, community, man. There's one other thing that Jerry put together on the forums. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. But everybody always, well, what can I do? What can I do to help a project? Jerry put together 13 things. There's a list, 13 things. He'll go into them each, and I won't go into them. You need to go read them. But the headline is a good start. Number 1, share what you read. You got a blogger, you got a video, you got to share it. Share that so that people, word of mouth. Word of mouth is the best way
it is
to get anything done. Report bugs. You run into one, just let folks know.
Can't fix what you don't know.
Exactly. Number 3, become a beta tester. I mean, you got a spare machine, you want to poke around a little bit, you got the extra time, do that.
Yeah, quality assurance is definitely appreciated.
Oh, it's huge. You have to. That's how bugs slip through the cracks. Without that, Number 4 is join a forum and help others. This is probably one of the easiest things that you can do. And you don't even have to be extremely technically inclined to do this kind of thing. You would not believe how many times people would ask, hey, where's this one function? I can't find it. That's you.
Yeah.
Number 5, write blogs. Write about it. Talk about it. Do things. Record videos. Everything. Just create content in and around Linux and whatever your favorite distro is. Number 6, well, if you got an extra buck or two, help financially.
Right.
Number 7, disable your ad blocker. At the very least, on sites that you want to help. At least. Number 8, join local Linux and open source groups, those lugs. Join those. The old Linux Saloon out there.
That's a good place,
anything that you can get your hands on. If there is a local one in your area, join that one. If not,
a lot of them have moved online too, so there's some great ones that you can find online as well.
Exactly. 9, if you know another language, help translate.
That's huge. That's huge.
That doesn't require technical anything. It just requires you to be fluent in 2 languages.
I often remind people that I'm only fluent in one language, and I'm not really fluent in that one.
No. Number 10, if you are technically inclined, if you can write software, help fix some bugs. Number 11, and this is where we get a little technical, develop an application.
Ooh, yeah, that's huge.
Number 12, design a website. So 10, 11, and 12, more on the technical side.
Yeah.
But if you're in the Linux community, there's a good chance that you're at least that technical, And the last is handle social media. If you think you could step in and do some social media advocation for a specific distribution, I would almost guarantee you, if they don't already have somebody doing that, they'll probably say, yeah. So
I'm going to add one, Leo. I'm going to add 14.
Oh, it's 14.
I'm going to add
Dan's
14.
number 14. Here it comes.
If you're an artist.
Oh
my word.
Yep.
Any Linux distribution that's out there would appreciate whatever you can contribute, whether that's photography or, wallpapers or icons, like you name it, right? Artists are in high demand as well. And it's a great way to promote your product, if you will, and get your name out there and make yourself known. So I'm going to say artwork. That's another one. That's a great one.
So anyway, enough about Jerry.
Yeah.
Seems to have a good head on his shoulders. I like what he's doing. But let's talk about what he's actually doing. So Dan, Linux Lite.
Linux Lite.
Tell me.
Okay. Great stuff. I think I really love what they're building here. Obviously built on a solid foundation of Ubuntu, which is, it's my favorite, right?
It's good. It's good.
And they do develop a lot of different applications that are unique to Linux Lite itself, and I think that's pretty fantastic. Anytime you can set yourself apart from others and get yourself a name, that's a good thing.
Well, you gotta separate yourself from the Rebecca Black Linuxes and the Miley Cyrus Linuxes of the world that just slap a wallpaper on something and call it good. Yeah, that's not what Linux Lite is. Yes, they use Ubuntu as a base, but man, over the years have they come up with a ton of tools, very much like MX and very much like Linux Mint and Elementary and others that have really brought something new. And this is why you want to use that particular distro. This is the reason why. So I'll talk about kind of bullet point style list of all the stuff that they've brought to the table that I think is really cool. But I'll stop interrupting you.
That's okay. No. So I was just going to say, Leo's going to talk about some of these a little bit more in depth, but I'll hit on the highlights that I really enjoyed. I think their welcome application is pretty good. I think that's a great thing, right? You need to start somewhere, and it sort of walks you down the list, much like a lot of the other ones, so you hit the things that you need to hit and get yourself set up out of the gate.
There are two types of welcome apps.
Yep.
There are welcome apps that I tell never to show up ever again.
Yeah, and then there's the ones that you watch again. Yeah.
And then there are the ones that I just leave the box check that says start every time. Because, especially on the Arch ones, like I forget to do stuff. But with Lite, it's got a one-click install updates. Like that. That's just really cool. And I mean, it's something I tend to try and do every now and then, like once a weekish. And it's a nice reminder to just click on the button.
And honestly, having it show up when you start, getting it out of the way before you begin anything, that's a good time to do updates. I feel like that's when I like to do mine. That's the fresh
start, fresh slate. And it will remind you to do the restore points too. So they use Timeshift now. So it'll remind you to do that as well. And if you're feeling dark, light, whatever mode, you can do that pretty easily right there. But the updates thing, I leave it on because of that.
Well, and if you had any questions, like it's got links to the forums and stuff, so you can go get help and whatnot. So, I mean,
that's another good reason to do it, especially if you're fresh to Linux Lite. You might want to know where to go to get a question answered if you have one. And there's just, you click it, and it takes you right there. So it's very nice. It's a nice touch.
I'll say, so out of the box, right? So it gets you set up out of the box. Here you are. You're dumped into it. It feels good. It's got a nice look. It's got a good theme. And it uses the papyrus icons, which are really nice. I mean, they're
one of my favorites. Absolutely.
So you got the dark theming, but you got the bright colored, attention-grabbing icons, which are really kind of fantastic, I feel like. So, they're bold, and I like that. The look is great. The feather, I love that. That's a great.
It's so nice.
That's it's iconic for them.
Well, it's a light distro, and you think like featherweight kind of connotation there. No, okay, all right.
But I do like the theming. I like the branding. It's all good. It's all solid. That's excellent. Obviously a lot of work put into that because it doesn't come overnight and it's not super easy, right? So that's pretty nice. So the welcome app really stands apart, and I think that's probably the top-notch application that they have. If I was going to pick one, some of the other ones are good too. But one that I'm going to go with one that I didn't really care for too much. It's okay. It gets the job done, but it's really weird to me, and that's the software one, the Lite software.
Oh,
because
right, yeah.
It's so limited in what it has in it. I mean, obviously, the software available is much greater than what's in the Lite software, but the Lite software is providing stuff that's not in the normal Ubuntu repos, right? So it's giving you those things that you got to add the PPAs or the other repos, that sort of stuff. I mean, maybe it has some of the things that you can get in Ubuntu, but it's just like, it's not as many. Obviously, it's nowhere near the number that is fully available. And maybe that was just me, but I think that was where I went, wow, that's a little weird, kind of strange. Handy, I can install some things that way, I suppose, but it was different. And it doesn't give you any indicator that, okay, yeah, these are things that you can't install over here in Synaptic or whatever, is installed.
That did kind of catch me, and it was like Audacity was on the list.
Yeah,
in
and
the
so
software.
Where's it? It must be pulling it from somewhere else, right?
Right, maybe it's grabbing the newest app image or something like that. I didn't install it that way.
I didn't either,
I have this
so
habit of just apt install Audacity because I tend to use it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust the one in the Ubuntu repos, so I mean it was kind of a no-brainer on that one. But it did have some other software too, like as you mentioned, it's got stuff that you can't get without going out and getting it yourself,
which is handy. That's super handy.
Yep. I saw TeamViewer on the list. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you how many times.
You got to use it. So, yeah.
Exactly. Spotify, Edge, which is, it's there.
Obviously adding a repo for that.
Yep. Skype and Zoom. So there's a lot of stuff in there that would, I won't say annoying or whatever, but I mean, it's a bit of a.
Well, it saves you going to the website, adding the repo, following the instructions, all of that. It's a one-click thing, and, you're into it, which is nice. Obviously, if you're transitioning, which is one of the goals here behind the distro is to transition from Windows to Linux. There's some Windows software out there that you might want to actually install or are used to, like Skype or whatever, I suppose, if you're, fleeing that area before you find out about other great open source projects. You might want to use those to still communicate with people. So, okay. And then it gives you a nice, easy one-click thing to get it done, and you don't have to worry about it after that.
Right. One thing I missed in software that I wished was there was Discord.
Yeah, I know.
Because
I did the same thing, right? So I went out and grabbed a deb and installed it that way, which is
right.
Okay, but then you got to manually keep tabs on it too. So
yeah, well, after you get it installed the first time, it's like, do you want to download the deb? And then it's a very Windows style update.
It is. It's a little more annoying though.
Yeah, no, it is, because on Windows you don't have to do any of that.
No.
It just kind of handles it for you after that point. But anyway,
the other weird thing, I'll say one more weird thing about the way Discord shows up in the menu is it's instant messenger. It's the whisker menu, I think. I think it's pulling out descriptions, right? Rather than the name of the application, which is just a little annoying to me, but that's XFCE. It's not a Linux Lite problem per se. So it shows up as instant messenger, and I'm looking for Discord. I'm going up and down the list. I'm like, they're alphabetical. Where did it go? And so I can launch it from the terminal. Why can't I find it in the menu? Oh yeah, there's the little icon. It's next to instant messenger. That's where I've goofed up.
Right. And one thing that I think both Dan and I tend to do is, if Flatpak or Snap is installed, we tend to go with that, because that's an easy way to get a lot of the software that you're used to. But in Linux Lite, neither are installed by default.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that you can't install it. Doesn't mean that you can't set them up. It's very easy to do so. But there's no one-click thing to do that. And Linux Lite is very good about giving you, here's how you fix this, here's how you do this, here's how you install this. Just click, click, click,
One
done.
thing you won't see is instructions on how to do either of those, per se. Right? And so that's fine. That's fine. That's the way they want to distribute software. That's okay. That's what they want to support. And a lot of people are behind that, too, so they're not really upset about it. So I'm okay with that. That's fine. And even if you go to FlatHub, normally your distro would have instructions there on how to install, Flatpak, and how to get FlatHub as your main repo and all that good stuff. You won't find Linux Lite on that list. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, you just kind of have to, know that you're on Ubuntu, and then just follow the Ubuntu instructions.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The Ubuntu instructions will work, and the same with Snap. That will also work, but it's not a promoted mechanism to get your software.
Right. So I think, Dan, you did too. We just we ran with what we could.
I did. I wanted to use it the way they they provide it for you, right? I mean, that's some of the goal of what we do for the month, is trying these things as they're intended, and not going crazy in creating your own mechanism per se, right? So
and if there's an obvious deficiency, I mean, we'll do it anyway. But but in this case, they provide you an alternative way to install a bunch of software, so we tended to go with that.
Right. Well, and sometimes, taking that a little bit further, it may not be the most supported mechanism is some of those things. But if you go into the forum, somebody will say, well, I did this or that and the other thing.
Sure.
You won't find that in the forums either, really. I don't think. You may have to search quite a little bit. I did a little bit, but I didn't find anybody saying anything about, oh yeah, I love snaps or Flatpaks, and this is how I did, enable them. You just won't see that.
If the target demographic is Windows users, then, already Flatpak and Snap are kind of foreign, unless you're very familiar with the Windows Store.
Yeah.
But you also don't have to set that up. So having to install anything and set those things up.
Yeah, and going along with the Windows Store, though, you would probably use Lite software or Synaptic, right? And that's the way you get your software. That's fine.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But either way, I mean, we still got what we needed. We got it installed and everything. I really don't think there's anything wrong with going out to a website and grabbing a deb and installing that.
Nope.
Because that works very easily in Linux Lite.
My Telegram was a little old, and I probably could have downloaded the binary right from Telegram, I suppose. But I mean, yeah, obviously, since it's like the Telegram that's in the repo, that's a little old. Probably missing some things.
Yeah, and coming from a Windows standpoint, I guess that's okay, actually. Going out to the website, downloading it, and installing it that way. That is a bit more of a Windows paradigm. Yeah.
It is. So I think they're reaching their target audience with the way they're delivering these things. And so that's kind of great, I feel like. Leo, XFCE is not one of our favorites, right? I do think they put a good, spin to it and made it look good.
Yeah, I mean, as far as XFCE goes, it's a good implementation. I like the Materia theme. It feels very nice. It is very fast and snappy.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah. So
XFCE was chosen because it's lightweight, because it's on the lighter side of the desktop environments. It's just not my cup of tea.
Right.
But their implementation is a good one. So yeah, don't get me wrong on that. I'm sour on XFCE, but Linux Lite's implementation is a good one.
Right. And so, that brings the question that's a bit rhetorical, obviously. Is Linux Lite really light? Well, it's not the lightest.
I think so.
It's not the lightest, but it is not the heaviest either, right? So yes. I think they are true to their name. They're not misrepresenting. It's not GNOME.
Oh, definitely not.
So it's not that, right? I don't know.
For what it's worth.
Plasma gives a run for its money these days, but it doesn't have all the animations and stuff, so that probably is why it feels a little lighter.
Well, and that's why you can put it on older hardware, and it still feels very fast.
Right.
Because it doesn't do all of this stuff, and you don't notice a stutter here or there or anything like that. It just is snappy. You can really say that it'll stay snappy.
It is. It is pretty light, but it's it's not LX Qt or something, but
right.
it is good. I from that standpoint, I also feel like they're making the mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's about half a gig on boot, and I mean, the thing that's really going to eat up your RAM is the browser anyway.
Of course,
most people pop one of those open immediately.
Yeah, once you get YouTube running, you'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it does it really brings the lightweight. So the light in the name is not any kind of bait and switch at all. It's good.
Not.
It really is a good, light, snappy desktop. But they do bring a whole heck of a lot of applications that I think even Windows could use, because sometimes it gets a little difficult to get through the settings menu. Even though I like the settings menu. This might be blasphemy as far as Windows is concerned, but the settings menu in Windows, I think I kind of like it more. They could have more stuff in it, like information wise. But I think the whole point is to not.
It's cleaned up a lot. Like, I don't know, in 11 versus 10 for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing is you're less back and forth into getting into those advanced things. They've given you just a little bit more. But like this, I think makes it even easier yet, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
So Linux Lite has a lot of tools that I think a lot of people will find really handy. So Light Tweaks is, I think, probably one of the cooler apps that they develop. First off, it was the easiest way to install TLP ever on a laptop. You check the box.
Yeah. Done.
I like that kind of thing. It also has a bunch of other, normal, usual bits like cleaning your browser caches, tinkering with various kernels, setting up ZRAM. Like, how do you even do that? I don't know. But the checkbox does it for me, so I didn't think about it much. And, of course, removing old packages. There's no auto-remove command you got to remember. It just it's a button.
Done.
It's a button. And so it's a good way to kind of keep your system clean, super easy. You don't have to know much about what's going on. You just read the thing it's going to do, read the description about it. If it sounds good to you and it doesn't say, warning or something on it, then check the box, click go. It'll take care of you. It's really nice.
Right.
And a lot like Mint, it's got a light desktop app that will help you kind of customize how the desktop is, what the icons on the desktop are. I like a cleaner desktop, so I'll take a lot of that stuff off.
Right.
And that made it super easy to do. I liked that a lot. The auto login. Okay, so most distros will like hide the auto login like in security settings or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
No, not Linux Lite. They give you an application, and when you launch it, it says yeah or no. Basic, that's it.
Yep.
It was like, do you want it or don't you? And if you don't, you click no. And if you do, you click yes. And if you don't, like if you're not sure, you just click the X. And I think that was probably, I liked that a lot. I didn't know I needed that when I'm switching, because I actually ended up wanting to switch. I can't even tell you why anymore, but I wanted to do that. And when I realized that was one of the apps that they provided, I was like, whoa, huh. Well, that was simple. I didn't have to find some checkbox buried into 3 menus to figure that out. Like it was just a thing.
You didn't have to go edit some config file either.
Oh, good. No. And I mean, XFC kind of notorious for that. As far as I'm concerned, dual monitors, laptop, close the lid, the nightmares begin. But yeah, at least this thing is not something I had to deal with.
Right. No, that's nice.
And they've got a user manager. So this kind of reminded me, I can't think of the distro now, but if you've got multiple people using the machine and even more than that, even if you're just the only user on the machine, adding and removing groups that are associated to your user. Oh, man. I cannot remember what it is. I want to say it's Red Hat based or something where you have an application like this. But
well, LXQt does have that, just so you know.
Okay. So this may have taken some inspiration from that. But
it could be. I don't know if they're related or not. Maybe one took from the other. I don't know. But yeah, I just know having used it, like there it has users and it has groups, and you can manage them both. And that is, like having that in a graphical utility, like you say, that's pretty nice. Yeah.
So I'll go through the rest of these kind of quickly. But Light Network Shares, not a huge fan of it because when I ran it, it just dumped you into the smp.conf file. And
there's where we didn't want to go.
Well, yeah, even as a seasoned Linux user that has dabbled in Samba more often than I'd like to admit, that was scary because it's got a big red bar and it's like root access and don't break it. And I'm like, wow. But luckily, when you close it, it's like you made changes. Do you want to revert that? I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what I did, but
that's fine. Yeah,
I'm gonna break it. So a little, I mean. So you've got like these really low difficulty ceiling kind of applications that are super, super easy. And then you get this, it's different. It's, I mean, I wish there was an app a long time ago. It was like Samba Shares something or another, something application. And it was just a graphical front end for this file, the smb.conf file. Right. If someone could resurrect that, that would be amazing. That would be the app I would expect when I click on like Light Network Shares.
I mean, I suppose you don't have to go digging for the conf file and like all of that stuff.
True. They did simplify
it. It finds it for you, gets it open, and it puts it in any editing mode, if you will. So,
so even on the whole, it's still simpler than doing it all yourself. So props for that.
Right.
But oh man, it kind of scared me. I was like, oh god, a configuration file. Yeah. They have Light System Report, which is super duper valuable.
Oh, that is
nice. No need to run around. Yep, it'll just kind of figure everything out for you. All the heavy lifting, gives you a file on the other end that can be uploaded to forums.
Right,
and you can even copy and paste it if you don't want the HTML. I think it's HTML.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But like when you run it, instead of giving you and I'm telling you, it's like a lot of information.
It's everything. It's a lot. It's all about your system.
You can uncheck like different various parts of hardware that you don't want in the report, so you can keep it more short.
If you're just having a problem with your audio card or something, you just want to get the audio bits in there instead of every single thing that you have.
I couldn't imagine what that forum post would look like if you just threw the whole thing in there. That'd be crazy. Which is why they probably give you an HTML file.
Right.
Light widget, fantastic. It's just a little widget that sits on your desktop, tells you a lot of things about the desktop, and it will remind you in red that you need to update because it's been a while. Super cool. I like that a lot. HDPI or high DPI settings.
Oh yeah, that's a biggie because like that's hard to find.
Yeah. Oh, it is, and it's again like normally you got to click on 4 different things before you even accidentally stumble upon it. It's easy, and it gives you the fractional scaling if that's what you want. It runs on X, so that runs fairly well. On my 14-inch 1080p display, I just chose 125, and I just ran with that the whole time, and it was nice and cozy. Filled the screen very nice.
Yeah, but it'd be good for somebody that, was running this like on a framework or something like that had the,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of thing that you're looking for.
Yep, X plays a little bit better with the scaling than I say that Wayland does great actually, but it's X Wayland apps that haven't been ported to Wayland that really kind of give you the trouble. So running it in X on that fractional scaling tends to just feel nicer. Anyway, so light sources. This is only for Linux Lite software, but you can change your mirror so you can download some of that stuff faster, which is really cool. Light upgrade. Sadly,
that's cool.
You can't use this for the major upgrades.
No.
So like from 5 to 6, but you can for the interim releases. So 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. Oh no, 6.2, 6.4, 6.6, 6.8.
Right.
You can do it for those.
The evens, yeah.
And one application I didn't think I needed, Light Sounds. I really did not think I needed this, but it's a one button to just tell the operating system to shut up. Like I don't know how many times.
Do not disturb.
Yes, I've had the operating system like ping, 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 and I'm like, no.
That is something I want to mention, though. Why, since you bring that up, like it's making those things, that is part of accessibility, if you will, and that is something that they really work at, right? And so, like when you log in, you get the little sound or whatever. That's to tell you your desktop is ready. If you
of course, yes.
If you're visually impaired, you can't necessarily maybe know, or even if you were just not completely blind, but like couldn't see well enough to know what was going on. Yep. Having that sound reinforcement lets you know now's the time. And so if you had a screen reader or whatever, and you had a keyboard shortcut for that, you could, fire that off and go. And that is one of the things. They do have a screen reader installed by default. So if you're needing some of these accessibility things, Linux Lite might be one of the better distributions out there.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. I don't know because I don't need them, but I know that they're installed and like functioning bits. So I'm hopeful that they're good for the people that need it.
Oh yeah. So I don't begrudge anybody for leaving them on, but I'm not one of those people.
No, I understand.
Having a one-click little don't want that. It's so nice.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But the reverse is true too. If you want them, there's a one-click button to turn it back on.
Yeah.
Easy. And then the last little bit that I think Linux Lite brings to the table is they went with Firewall D kind of earlier on in their development cycle, which is good. Firewall D is a fantastic firewall.
It is. It's very configurable.
It is disabled by default, which I think is okay because I think it's not like there's a whole lot of services listening or anything like that on your Linux box. But when you turn them on, you might get to that point where you need to. But anyway, Firewall D, you turn it on. You click on the firewall config button, and it's like on or off.
Yeah.
There's seriously, if you know enough to know that you want the firewall on, but not enough of how to configure it, this is kind of the way that you want to do it. It's like it's just on, and it just rejects everything that wasn't requested internally first, and that's fantastic. So if you're going out in public, turn it on. If you're coming back, turn it off, or just leave it on. I mean, unless you're serving things from your laptop or whatever that you carry around, leave it on. So I like that a lot. They bring a lot to the table. I think it's a fantastic distro. It's based on Ubuntu, so it's already stable in the first place, and then they just add a lot of value on top of that, especially if you're not one to dig around for settings or dig around for software, or you just want to install something or configure something, yes or no kind of style, and get going with it. It's a fantastic option. And, I mean, it really is lightweight. At least the desktop is. The browsers are not.
Oh, well, speaking of browsers, though, one thing that did kind of shock me a little was they had Google Chrome out of the gate, right? Not Chromium, the full-blown Chrome from Google.
Chrome.
Yeah, Chrome.
Yep. Google's Chrome.
Chrome.
I'm not a huge fan of that.
I'm not either, but
the Firefox Snap is actually fairly good these days. Like, I don't have any complaints about speed anymore. That's actually saying something, because I have for years that has been my pain point with Snap specifically, but also with the Firefox app itself.
Right.
And that seems to be, I mean, we're talking the thing launches the first time less than 2 seconds, so I don't really have any complaints about it anymore.
No, I don't either.
So I used their software, checked the Firefox box, and just used Firefox. That's okay. But I had Brave in there too. So
yeah, I did too. Like, I installed Brave. That's fine. Firefox, that's cool too.
They make stuff easy. I like that.
They do make it easy. I was just, it's a little different to see Chrome there.
Very few distros do
very
that.
few,
I think,
right?
Yeah. So if you're a Chrome person
okay.
and you're a Windows convert and you like lightweight distributions in general, I mean, this is probably the one. This might be the one right
I
here.
think it makes an easy transition. Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely.
So good stuff. I think overall really good. Love the forums and the community and stuff. So I'm happy with that.
You can't beat the community, man. It's one of the best. One of the best.
It's not aimed at me per se. Even though I like what they're doing and I like, how they're delivering it, these aren't things that I necessarily need anymore. So,
right.
I'm pretty comfortable with that. So it's probably not a place I'm going to land. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And XFCE is not my favorite. I think that's the biggest drawback for me. This is exactly why I don't use Linux Mint XFCE. It is not anywhere near my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest reason I won't keep it around. But I mean, I don't see any other reason that I would get rid of it. Other than
no, it's
kind
good.
It kind of crosses over a lot with the Linux Mint that I do use.
Right.
The base is the same. A lot of the tools
Sure.
replicate functionality. So yeah, I don't think it's enough to make me move. But I mean, if I were starting over,
I could hand this to someone, that is saying like, look, I'm looking for something a little different here. Can you help me out? And I could say,
yeah.
Well, try this one. That might be good for you.
Yeah, without much or any reservation whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see, they might have a lot of success depending on, where you are and what you're looking for. This isn't bad. Good month. I think I felt like.
Very.
I'm pleased.
Me too.
You want to send us some feedback? You can send us an email at contact@linuxuserspace.show. You can always get all of our links and all the information at our website, linuxuserspace.show.
So next show, next time is our regular old topic feedback show. I think we're going to do one more of these. I think we might land on another history go around the next.
Yeah.
Not this coming topic show, but the following topic show.
Sure.
But we do got to do this thing because we're done with the current distro. We got to do one more.
We're going
to pick another one.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What punishment do we have in store for us now?
So, this next one is going to really stick to your Surface.
I feel like it would.
Yeah. So this next one, Gecko Linux.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking, we should go with the tumbleweed route. So it's the rolling and get the latest and the greatest.
I think that's probably the play. They do have a Leap version.
They do.
Yeah, I might just try it. I might just throw it on there.
The Leap?
Because Flatpak exists, right?
Well,
it's very easy to set up. So it's not like I would be missing out on the software that I normally use. And I would get a stable desktop in return. So that's kind of cool. But also...
Well, I suppose we live with an LTS of Ubuntu often as well.
And I'm all right.
And that's okay. So having a stable release wouldn't be the end of the world.
Right. And then again, the Flatpak lets me live on those too. So Leap might just be where I end up. Just to say that I did it all on Leap.
Yeah.
Because they, like I said, they have Leap and they have Tumbleweed. So it is your choice. Whichever you feel like will fit your use case a little bit better. But underneath, it's all OpenSUSE.
Yeah.
And I think that's one that we haven't touched on.
We haven't.
Since season 1.
Yeah, season 1. And there are not a lot of OpenSUSE offshoots. So I feel like
there aren't.
We should give it some attention. Like
that I think needs to change. OpenSUSE is a really good base. I think OpenSUSE in general is just a good group of people, good distribution, and they don't get enough love. So we already did OpenSUSE. I'd like to dig into some of that history a little bit more. But Gecko lets us do a little bit of that, which is nice.
They use a different installer, and they got a lot of desktop options, so that's a little bit different out of the gate.
Oh man, do they do a lot of customization on the desktops?
I have no idea. Like
we're gonna find out.
I think we're gonna find out here. I think this is it. This is gonna be part of the testing that we go through and see what they really bring probably to some of those things.
Well, cool.
I'm kind of excited about that.
I am too. I am too. Yeah, absolutely. So stay tuned and tell us all the things you want on the Reddits and the Twitters and the Mastodons and the Telegrams and the Matrixes and the Discords and the Facebooks. No, not that one. We don't have that one.
We got a lot of socials.
We got a lot of socials. So join the conversation however you feel comfortable. Email. You could do that as well. All the links in the show notes and on linuxuserspace.show. So Dan, outside of here, where can we find you?
You can find me at KC2BZ at mastodon.social.
And that one's down there.
That's down there. Yeah, over there.
I forget which direction we gotta go.
Like, wherever up there, you can find me at KC2BZ at the Twitter.
Yeah,
that's
the Twitters.
That's the other one.
Up there somewhere.
Right. So you can find me there. And both of those are good. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm at Leo Chavez on the Twitters, wherever that is. And I'm also Leo Chavez at mastodon.social. Eventually, I'll point at it. It's there. It's on screen. It's on the screen. If you're on the audio only, well, you just gotta type it in. Quick question. I know you did, but I'm just double checking. OBS running yet?
Yeah, I did that.
Cool.
It's recording. It tells me it's still recording. So that's
the reason I asked is Patreon bought a bunch of storage, I guess. And and now you can post the whole video, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so why wouldn't I upload
I think we need to give it a try.
Right. So something that we need to talk about that I'm not sure what we want to do with yet. Do we create a $20 tier, or do we just add this to the $10 tier? Because also, I want to start the whole after the Patreon won't let you do it immediately, but after 3 months, you get a mug or you get a T-shirt.
Right.
Or
yeah.